Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. This continues the discussion of chapter 1 of my new book, Islamic Economics, the polar opposite of capitalist economics. In this portion, we will discuss how the theories of knowledge which emerged in Europe shaped the discipline of modern economics. The rejection of Christianity, which followed the period of religious wars, was a traumatic event. Everything that everybody had believed very strongly turned out to be wrong. The Europeans searched for ways of arriving at knowledge which would be trustworthy and reliable and sure. They decided not to trust feelings and experiences which could be misleading, and instead they developed empiricism. We must base knowledge on what we could see or what we can reason. These two strands, knowledge comes from observations and knowledge comes from logic, were combined in logical positivism in the early 20th century. And one of the fundamentals in understanding what positivism is about is that it rejects the unobservables and uses only observables as basis for knowledge. This attitude is directly in conflict with the Quran, which opens with the verse which says that this contains guidance for those who believe in the unseen. Positivism emphatically forbids believing in the unseen. Having rejected religion, Europeans sought for another source of certain knowledge and found it in science. Positivism was a philosophy designed to prove that science is the only source of valid knowledge and all other sources of knowledge are invalid. Actually, in order to make science, which is actually a set of conjectures about the world which can never be proven, to make it appear to be certain, they had to distort their understanding of science, and social science was built on this misunderstanding of science and scientific method. This misunderstanding created by positivism was applied to create a body of knowledge by applying these same methods to the study of humanities. It was not understood that the scientific method cannot be applied to the study of human society. Around the 60s and 70s, philosophers abandoned positivism. It was based on a lot of different errors, one of which is that it took a stance on metaphysics. It said that all knowledge comes from logic and observations, but this particular piece of knowledge, where is the observation, where is the logic which leads to this? So positivism itself was based on a metaphysics, but this was not understood by the positivists and continues to baffle people. So despite the fact that positivism is wrong and has been abandoned, it continues to be the base of modern social science. Positivist rejection of unobservables had very damaging consequences for the theory of economics. Human welfare is unobservable. Sources of human happiness, our emotions, our motivations for behavior, morality, all of these are essential components of economics, but they are all unobservable and were discarded in the construction of modern economics. The concluding portion of the book provides an outline of the 8 chapters. The positivist view is that economics is a value-free objective science. It has laws like laws of physics. But the reality is that economics is built on concealed moral foundations which have been given the name rationality. After you reject God, judgment, and afterlife, it is rational to assume that man is just another animal. Our life in the world is a life in a jungle, and survival of the fittest is the only moral value. And these are the ideas on which economics is built. So economics started out as a branch of moral philosophy and remains a branch of moral philosophy, even though the economists think otherwise. And it is built on toxic moral foundations: greed, individualism, competition, hedonism. In opposition to this, Islamic societies are built on generosity, cooperation, social responsibility, and striving for success on the Day of Judgment. Chapter 2 discusses the origins of Islamic economics in a historical context, how modern economics emerged in Europe, and how Islamic economics emerged in response to these developments. Whereas the wealth of nations is the central concern of modern economics, the Islamic view is that wealth is to be used as a means for spiritual progress, and this leads to an entirely different type of economics. Chapter 4 discusses the Sharia, or the Islamic law, and how this framework embeds all of economic theory. Chapter 5 discusses the political system, which is very different from the set of political theories that emerged in the West. The institutions of a society embed in concrete form the spirit behind the society, whereas the spirit of capitalism is the accumulation of wealth. The spirit of Islam is rather different, and accordingly the institutions of an Islamic society are very different from capitalist institutions. According to Islamic views, individuals have within them the capacity for the greatest evil and also the greatest good, and the goal of a society is to try to bring out the capabilities for good. This is a dramatically different vision about the role of individuals, which is central to building an Islamic society.